Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're returning to Andy's room one last time for what, honestly, many consider Pixar's crowning achievement, Toy Story 3, the 2010 animated masterpiece that somehow improved upon two perfect films and delivered an ending so emotionally devastating that, grown adults sobbed in theaters worldwide. Directed by Lee Unkrich, who actually edited the first two films, this $200 million production became the highest-grossing animated film of all time at its release and earned 5 Academy Award nominations, winning Best Animated Feature. Starring the returning voices of Tom Hanks, Tim Allen, Joan Cusack, and the introduction of Michael Keaton as Ken, the film asks a question no one wanted to answer. What happens when the kid grows up? Whether you're here for the incinerator scene, the Spanish buzz, or just wondering why a children's film about toys makes you confront mortality, this video will break down everything. So, stick around to the end. Why is Toy Story 3 considered one of the greatest sequels ever made? Woody, Buzz, and the gang are introduced in a world that's, shrinking. Andy is now 17 years old, packing for college, and his room, once a playground of imagination, has been reduced to a single shelf of childhood relics. From the first scene, we get a sense of the toys' collective personality. They're hopeful, loyal, and honestly terrified of being forgotten. Bonnie, the imaginative toddler next door, has been Andy's last playmate, but those visits are growing rare. The film quickly establishes stakes through its inciting incident. Andy decides to take Woody to college, store Buzz and the others in the attic, and donate the rest to daycare. But a mix-up, Andy's mum mistakes the attic-bound trash bag for garbage, sends the toys to the curb. Believing Andy has thrown them away, they climb into a donation box headed for Sunnyside Daycare. At Sunnyside, they meet Lots-o Huggin Bear, or Lotso, a seemingly benevolent strawberry-scented teddy bear who, honestly, runs the daycare with an iron fist. The caterpillar room where toddlers play is, a nightmare of drool and destruction. Meanwhile, the butterfly room, meant for older kids, is basically paradise. Lotso promises them a home forever, but, the toys soon discover that forever at Sunnyside actually means being played with until they break, then just discarded. By the end of this introduction, we already get the impossible situation. A group of toys desperate for a child's love, trapped in a daycare prison run by a teddy bear who, sadly, lost his faith in kids a long time ago. The relationships in Toy Story 3, they really form the emotional architecture of a film about loyalty, loss, and, letting go. Woody's interactions with the other toys reveal a leader who's struggling with the hardest decision of all, knowing when to move on. He's the only one who still believes in Andy, and that faith, honestly, isolates him. When the toys accuse him of abandoning them, Woody's not a toy anymore. Woody's a collector's item. The betrayal stings because, it's not entirely wrong. Lotso serves as the film's tragic villain. His backstory, beloved by his owner Daisy, accidentally left at a rest stop, replaced by an identical bear, turned his sweetness sour. His hatred of children is understandable, but, monstrous. He's what the toys could become if they lose hope. A leader who protects by imprisoning, who loves by controlling. The new toys add texture and pathos. Ken, Barbie's dream boyfriend, is a closeted fashion enthusiast trapped in Lotso's regime. Big Baby, Lotso's former companion, is a giant infant doll whose silent grief, his scribbled-out daisy on his foot, is honestly one of the film's most heartbreaking details. And Bonnie, the toddler who eventually gives the toys a new home, is the film's hope, a child who plays the way Andy used to, with imagination and love. Supporting characters like Mr. Potato Head, Rex, Ham, and Slinky Dog provide comic relief without undercutting the stakes. Their loyalty to each other, Potato Head using his detached pieces to save his wife's eye, is the film's moral center. As the plot unfolds, the toys face escalating challenges that transform Sunnyside from paradise to prison. Key Event 1 is the Caterpillar Room Massacre. Left alone with toddlers, Buzz, Jessie, and the others are slobbered on, thrown, and broken. Woody, trapped at home, watches helplessly through a window. The sequence is played for horror comedy. Rex's tail snapped, Buzz's arm pulled, Slinky stretched to his limit, but its message is clear. Sunnyside isn't a home, it's a death sentence. Then, Key Event 2 delivers the film's most devastating sequence, the dumpster escape. Woody, having returned to save his friends, leads them through a series of obstacles, only to be captured by Lotso. The garbage truck arrives, and the toys are thrown into the dump. They escape to the incinerator, climbing conveyor belts, avoiding flames until they reach a dead end. The sequence is silent except for the roar of fire and the clanking of machinery. The toys hold hands. They close their eyes. They accept their fate. The filmmakers use pacing masterfully. Director Lee Unkrich and cinematographer Jeremy Lasky created a world that feels both toy-sized and emotionally vast. The incinerator sequence, the toys reaching for each other, Woody and Buzz exchanging glances, the metal claw descending, is shot with the gravity of a tragedy. Michael Arndt's screenplay earns every beat. The toys have been fighting for survival for 3 films, and this is the first time they've faced death together, without hope. The turning point arrives when the claw, the same claw from the Pizza Planet arcade in the first film, descends and saves them. The toys, disbelieving, look up at the aliens who have been operating the claw all along. The claw has chosen. It's absurd, miraculous, and exactly the kind of deus ex machina that works because the film has earned our investment. Toy Story 3 isn't just about toys. It's a film that wrestles with mortality, loyalty, and the question of what happens when the story ends. One of the most prominent themes is the necessity of letting go. Woody spends the film refusing to accept that Andy has outgrown him, and that refusal nearly gets his friends killed. The film argues that love isn't possession, it's wanting the best for someone, even if that means being left behind. Andy's final play session, introducing his toys to Bonnie, is the most mature act of love in Pixar's history. Another theme, the fear of obsolescence and the dignity of being forgotten, emerges through Lotso's tragedy. He was replaced, not because he was bad, but because his owner's parents bought a replacement before he could be found. His bitterness is understandable, but his choice to become a tyrant is not. The film argues that suffering doesn't excuse cruelty. It's what we do with our pain that defines us. The film also explores found family and the courage to face death together. The incinerator scene, the toys holding hands accepting their fate, is honestly the most profound moment in Pixar's filmography. They don't escape because they're clever or lucky. They escape because the aliens operate the claw. But you know, the emotional weight comes from their willingness to die together, holding hands, not alone. Critics have noted the film's sophistication. As Roger Ebert wrote, Toy Story 3 is a film that works on every level. As a children's adventure, as a meditation on mortality, and as a farewell to characters we've loved for 15 years. It's about endings, yes, but more importantly, it's about the grace of new beginnings. Woody doesn't leave Andy behind, he chooses Bonnie. And in that choice, he keeps the story going. Some fascinating details behind Toy Story 3 make the experience even richer. The film was developed under the working title Toy Story 3: The Escape, and went through several story iterations, including a darker version where the toys were donated to a daycare run by a video game-obsessed child. Lee Unkrich, who had edited the first 2 films, took over directing after a brief period where the project was stalled at Disney before Pixar's reacquisition. The incinerator sequence was nearly cut. Test audiences found it just way too traumatic. But the filmmakers insisted, arguing that the toys needed to face death to make the ending meaningful. The sequence where Andy plays with Bonnie, slowing down, savoring each toy, naming Woody's roundup friends, was animated with painstaking detail, including the texture of Andy's stubble and the weight of his adult hands holding child-sized toys. Fun trivia: the daycare's name, Sunnyside, is a reference to Sunnyside, Queens, where Pixar's New York office was located. Lotso's voice, Ned Beatty, was cast after the directors heard his performance in Network and realized he could convey both warmth and menace. The Spanish Buzz sequence, Buzz reprogrammed to speak Spanish, dance flamenco, and seduce Jessie, was added late in production after the animators realized just how funny it would be. And the film's ending, Andy driving away, Woody watching from Bonnie's backpack, took months to animate. The tear in Andy's eye was a last-minute addition that really made the scene. As the story reaches its devastating climax, the toys make their final stand. After escaping the incinerator, they chase Lotso across the dump. Woody forces the garbage truck controls, and Lotso is cornered. But Woody chooses mercy, pulling him to safety. Lotso, instead of gratitude, pushes Woody aside and escapes alone, leaving the toys to their fate. The key moment arrives when Andy, home for the last time, discovers his toys in the donation box. Woody, hidden, watches as Andy reaches in, and instead of dropping them off, carries them to Bonnie's house. "Do you want to play?" Andy asks Bonnie, and for the first time in years, he sits on the floor and plays with his toys. The resolution is transcendent. Andy names each toy: Woody, Buzz, Jessie, Bullseye, Rex, Slinky, Ham, the aliens, Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head, and Bonnie plays along, her imagination sparking. Woody, in Andy's hand, looks up at his boy one last time. Andy hesitates, and then he hands Woody to Bonnie. "Take good care of him," he says. "He's the best." The final shot, Andy driving away Woody watching from Bonnie's backpack, Andy's tear rolling down his cheek, is honestly the most earned goodbye in cinema history. The filmmakers intended these final moments to leave a lasting impression. Love isn't possession. It's the courage to let go and the grace to begin again. Woody will have another adventure. But this chapter is over. In conclusion, Toy Story 3 delivers a perfect ending to a perfect trilogy. A film about growing up, letting go, and the quiet dignity of being remembered. The voice cast is flawless, the animation is honestly breathtaking, and the incinerator scene remains one of the most powerful moments in cinema history. It's not just a children's film. It's a film about mortality, loyalty, and the love that persists even when the story ends. Toy Story 4 would follow 9 years later, but for many fans, this was the ending, and it was perfect. If you enjoyed this breakdown, drop a comment with your thoughts. Does the incinerator scene still make you cry? And do you prefer this as the ending or Toy Story 4? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more movie reviews, deep dives, and behind-the-scenes insights. Thanks for watching, and remember, to infinity and beyond.